Yo, 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 this is your girl, Butta B-Rocka, and you are tuned into Transparency Podcast by your girl, Butta. So before we get started, let me just say thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome to my show, my podcast. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. I'm breathing, you know what I mean? And I'm very excited about this show, Transparency Podcast. I have the pleasure of speaking to some of my good friends that are in the entertainment industry, as well as entrepreneurs that are doing some major things. And my hope with this podcast is to bring you guys some hope and inspiration and everything. So we're going to get started in a little bit. But before we get started, while you're tuned in and while you're at home, make sure that you're taking this time to elevate your mind. Let me tell you guys right now, you're either going to get extra fine after, this quarantine is over, or you're going to get extra. So, like, it's the truth. So, I have an amazing book by Terrence, 150 quick and easy recipes to transform your body. Make sure you guys get it. So without further ado, I want to bring on an amazing, amazing guy, Mr. Tim Ray with United Intentions Media Network. Hey,
Wow.
Tim.
Well, hey, my favorite person in the world, Butta B-Rocker. And of course, your sidekick, Terrence. I have that book, by the way, and it's an excellent recipe book. I strongly recommend everyone to not only pick it up, read it, but use it. Especially now when you're home, everybody's cooking. What a great little recipe thing to do, right?
Absolutely. You know what? Also, you was one of the first people to read my book too.
Absolutely. And I was just starstruck by it because, guys, Fear of Failure is an excellent book. Not only Les Brown recommended it, I think he's in your forward, right?
Yeah.
But also it's the storyline and who she knows. I mean, because I'm going to mention all the names, I'm going to butcher all the names, right? But all these rap stars that, are world renowned, but it was hanging out with back in the day and still does, I guess, to a certain degree now. And my God, I mean, what a pathway you've created. What a wild, wild road you have lived. And it's all in that one book, Fear of Failure. Well
Thank
done.
you. I appreciate that. So me and Tim had the pleasure of meeting in Bahamas for the first time. I think
Okay.
2 years ago now, or 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it seems like forever, but you're right. Yeah, we in the Bahamas. We didn't even meet here in Atlanta, and we're both from Atlanta. What are the chances of meeting in the Bahamas, right? And where
Right.
both of us live so close to each other in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right. I was so glad that we did meet, but we met in Bahamas. You was receiving an award.
Right, yes. I was
And I was
speaking. Yeah.
performing. It was at a convention for the Prime Minister of Bahamas. So I was honored to perform for you guys, and you was receiving an award, and I was just like,
Well, it was a fantastic experience. I mean, really was. We had a chance to get to share with the beautiful people in Bahamas about the power of intentions and how our thoughts create our reality and how we're really empowered to be who we truly are by realizing just that fact that we co-create our reality, right, on a collective level and with God. And so once we understand that, and we spread that word, and of course the people of Bahamas just loved it, and they loved you. And when you sang God, that song, that's such an empowering song. What was the name of it?
Rise Up.
Rise Up. Come on. Yes. Yeah, boy. There wasn't a tear, wasn't a dry eye in that crowd. I'll tell you that right now. But what a great experience.
It was definitely a great experience. And I'm so grateful for performing there because I met so many wonderful people like yourselves, and we have been friends ever since. And it's been a pleasure. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Oh my God, Butta, are you kidding me? I like to have fun, right? And you have fun. You, Terrence and gang had always had fun at my place. In fact, you did some entertaining out there too. I mean, God, you're incredible. Outside of having fun, I do take life, serious in the sense of our compassion for each other. I really appreciate people who are able to connect with their heart and to be able to share feelings with each other more so than this kind of coldness of only worry about money and what can I get for myself all the time, this kind of narcissistic, selfish world that we grew up in, right, for the most part. And then to still be in touch with your feelings and compassion, or to develop that and realize we're spiritual beings. To me, that is really what my mission is. And so if you want to know who I am that person who sees things in the sense of these days, in the sense of connecting with others and expressing our compassion. But that's not just the only aspect of what I do, but also the fact of the businesses, which, you tell me if you want me to talk about that, I sure will. But I just love the fact that I'm friends with Butta B-Rocka, and I get enjoy quality time with you.
I
Come
know. I do.
why be happy?
So you started UI Media Network.
Yes.
Can you tell everybody what that is? And yeah, tell everybody what it is.
Okay. Well, the UI Media Network is a platform we created over the years. We started the foundation called United Intentions Foundation, which I'll talk about in a second. But the platform is all about sharing, giving a platform for people to share their authentic truth uncensored in a world now that censorship is climbing every day, not just in the mainstream media, but now we're seeing it in the internet, on Facebook and YouTube, so online. People are just putting out only what people want to hear, which often is, misleading folks. So here you have an opportunity to share your truth and not worry about being pulled down or people censoring you, as long as you do it with class and with dignity. That's what we ask for. But outside of that, it's a platform where people could learn how to track intentions as well. We have a site where we're actually a new site coming up here shortly. We have a site, we have a community where people learn how to create, track, and manifest intentions, and do it as a group, and watch great videos of people sharing their truth on any level. But to go back in history, because it's not all been, people think, oh my God, great, this guy's running a media network, and he started a foundation, and I'll tell you about my home healthcare company too. But people don't realize that it just doesn't happen overnight. And I wasn't inherited or given things at a young age to make things happen. I had to work for it at a risk, had to take risk, and it wasn't so easy. I mean, there were times when it was pretty gloom and scary, getting out there and leaving a situation where a certain amount of expectation and comfort to running the risk of starting your own business, and let me tell you a little bit about that. Okay.
So,
all right.
Let's take a step backwards. Okay, so you have UI Media Network. How many shows do you have on your network, and where is it seen at?
Sure. All right. Well, approximately at any given time, we have 13 to 15 different shows in climbing. I do about two to three shows on the network, and you can catch us on our app. We have our own app, uimediaapp.com, or you catch us on all the main sites there, from, like I said, Spotify to all the different types of podcasts, as well as internet like Facebook and YouTube. In addition to, of course, we're on FM radio, 99.1 here in Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're kind of spread out in all different types of mediums, that from radio and television. It's like television and radio combined. And we're on Binge TV, and we're also going on Roku. We'll be launched on Roku in the next few weeks. So you'll see UI TV right underneath the Netflix, hopefully close up to there, right? And then people get a chance to see all our different shows while they're at home on television in quarantine.
Well, I'm hoping that this quarantine is not going to take forever. I'm truly hoping that it clears up very quickly.
Well, listen, I think the people of the world, and American citizens particularly, will rise up to realize, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what we want to experience, and we'll create a reality that's going to be more of a loving experience of reality, and people just step into their own power. We could make things change. We could change the world, whether it's a virus or suppression or anything it could be. We can change it through the power of our own intentions.
Absolutely. I can say that this quarantine has absolutely made people more family oriented, and
value what's important.
Yeah. And people are becoming very creative. You take something away from somebody, they will figure out some other things. As you know, I had injured myself and had surgery on my knee over a year ago. And I couldn't tour anymore. And I've been touring since 2007, nonstop overseas. And so it was, you know, tragic for me, because I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do if I'm not singing, if I'm not on tour? But through that, it forced me to have to become creative and figure out some additional hustles and additional things that I was good at. And through that,
you wrote books.
yeah,
You wrote a play.
a play,
Your jewelry, you know, and your paraphernalia you've been creating. You know, I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
know, talk about hustler right there, Butta B-Rocka. She'll make it happen. Hey, you got to do that. I mean, in life, you can't wait for big government or somebody to come by and say, "Going to take care of you."
yeah.
You got to get out there and create your own world.
Yeah. So that's what you did. You created several worlds. Not only do you have your UI Media Network, you also do have your healthcare. What is it?
It's Golden Home Services, a home healthcare company where we care for seniors. We send nurses and CNAs out. My dog keeps coming in here. She wants to play with us. Some come say hello, Scarlett. But we have what was I saying about the
Talking about your healthcare.
oh, healthcare, Golden Service. So we service nurses wherever they may be living. You know, seniors living in nursing homes or in assisted livings or at home, right? And CNAs. And it's been I started that about almost 18, 19 years ago. And so, and it's been very successful, multi-million-dollar business. But, you know, a lot of people think, oh, God, Tim, you got all this great opportunity. Now you can sit down and do your other passion of United Intentions Foundation, helping people unite their intentions. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, I had made a lot of sacrifices to get there. Right. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. And I think a lot of your listeners and viewers need to understand that it's, you know, unless you're born into that type of a family, and usually you're not ever appreciated because you never learn to earn things for yourself. But unless you are, you're going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to take risks, and you're going to have to keep a positive, perpetual understanding and pertinacious understanding of making things happen on you, that fall on you, no one else, that you got to make it happen. And I think that's part of the journey that I learned way back when I decided to start my own business. You know, but I mean, most people don't realize this, but I had a nice high-powered job. I was a vice president of operations for a company that I was 30 different nursing homes I was overseeing all around the country. And I worked for 5 years there, worked my ranks up to vice president of operations for $100 million company. Wow. And over that period of time, basically in the short here, I had it out with the CEO. And either the CEO goes or I go, right? So guess who goes? I go. And so I eventually basically got fired from my job. I then, at the same time, within 6 weeks, I was in the process of getting divorced, and I had 2 small kids at the time. And I just bought a house that I couldn't live in. So I found myself in my buddy's unfinished basement. And he's an attorney at the time. And he said, yeah, come on. And I lived in his basement. And for a period of time, I'm like, well, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life here. Right. And a lot of stuff happened all at one time. And so I did. I said, okay, either I'm going to go back working for the man and do what I've been doing, which I could have. That would have been the really easy road for me. Right. But to me back then, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always kind of was just in my mind. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted just to get out there and see what I could do. And so I decided, okay, here's my chance. So I put a business plan together for a home healthcare company, private home care company. And I put it on the wall, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so, and then I started making some steps. First thing, I needed some seed money. I had some money savings, and my father had a little money for me too. And I'm like, well, I need to really make some more money so I can start making this reality happen. Otherwise, I'm going to come into trouble here soon. I can only last for so long. So I went down to Kennesaw University, and I pitched this program, this nursing program for middle managers, to the program coordinator there. And I said to her, hey, this is something that I want to, I think this would be great. This is something that KSU doesn't have, blah, blah, blah. And this is the continuing ed. And she said, nah, I don't we don't want that. What else you got? You know, I'm like, oh, that's all I got, right? So I go, and I did my tap dance, like, what do you need? And she said, well, we want a certified nursing assistant program. I said, okay, I will put the best certified nursing assistant program in here for the KSU you've ever seen, if you pay me money up front. You know, because I need the money for my company I wanted to start. And she agreed. And because she knew I had had the credibility in the industry, and she, you know, she agreed. And so, and to this day, I haven't ran it in a long time, but to this day, it's still active. And it's the #1 certified nursing assistant course in Georgia.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, started that way back when. But it gave me the seed money. I went out, and the first, you know, couple of years is me and some folks I knew. And I was trying to market some folks to, hey, I got this. I put my PowerPoint together for the marketing stuff, and then everything else. And then I just started doing, you know, door to door, phone call to phone call, and get one client. And I got one client now. I had a caregiver going in, and from there I grew to 2 clients. And then, you know, so 2-3 years later, I started, you know, now the whole time I just wasn't doing that alone. I was working, hustling. I was hustling 2-3 other jobs. You know, I was throwing newspapers at one point at nighttime. I worked for a friend of mine I was overseeing about 7 assisted living properties around the Southeast. And then I ended up renting space from him in one area, and he let me continue my business. And so it just grew, but a little bit each day. It wasn't something overnight. Right. And I had to change my plans and my goals and my missions as we went with what was working and what wasn't working, you know? So I think for me, I think having that ability to do that, to be able to be light on my feet and open-minded and shift to whatever direction I want to go to, led to my successes. And the more successes I had, the more I was able to move the needle. And then, you know, before you know it, you know, the company's running by itself 15 years later, and, you know, I don't have to run anymore. And I stepped down from running it back then. And Greta Full, she runs my business for me. She's the president. And now I'm able to do stuff like this and hang out with you, Butta, and talk on the Zoom here, you know? So what a world, right?
Yeah, what a world. Okay, so you're being a little modest. So you went from going through this divorce, raising your 2 kids, having to stay in your friend's basement for a little while, almost practically losing everything. Then you start your healthcare business, and now you are a self-made millionaire because of this. From your hard work and your risk out there, seeing if it works, and if it didn't work, you would go back and try again and change up some things to make sure that, you know, eventually something stuck. And now not only do you have your healthcare business, you also have your media network business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well, one success usually begets another success. So that's one thing I want to tell everybody too, is if you can show success in one area, and it's not, I'm not saying like you just meet certain goals, but you have a belief that, oh my God, I created these $2 that came in from my first client.
Right.
I created that. No one else did. My decisions and choices I made this money come into my hand at this moment.
Right.
Once you get that cycle of understanding, like, wow, it's an incredible sense of empowerment. And then all of a sudden you add more successes onto that. Then it doesn't even matter if you go into a whole nother industry, I guess not to a certain degree, but for the most part, because when you have success in this one area, you believe it. And when your power of your intention and understanding and belief is critical, because once you believe that, then, you know, I could do almost anything, and you really can with that type of belief system, and not to mention the capital that you built up over the time. But, you know, but seriously, it is an amazing attribute to have by showing success for future success.
Absolutely. So what advice do you give someone trying to launch their own business?
Okay. Well, it's you can't just focus on the money. You got to focus on the money to survive, but you can't just say, I'm going to do this to make the money, because you're going to have some level of staying power, because when you don't see the money for the first month, 2 months, 3 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, you're going to throw the towel in, right? Or you're going to be like, okay, I'm not making the money, so I'm going to go back. You can't let yourself drive just for that, because if it's about the money, it's not going to stay, all right? Because the money won't show up usually. But if it's about that, you want your freedom, you want to be able to make your own choices, you want to develop and grow within yourself, you want to be able to share more risk and take more chances, and then have the excitement of the success that you find when you roll the dice and it worked out, calculated risk. Then the money, of course, starts showing up, and then you're willing at that point to reinvest that money,
right,
whatever money does show up, back into you again, back into your business, back into your ideas, back into a new way of doing it, and not seeing that I'm going to have, I need to be making my million in the first year. You can't have any time frame at all. You got to be able to go with whatever the flow is, and when the money shows up, the money shows up. But you're staying consistent and you're driving that. But without that internal driving, motivating force, and I don't know what else to call it other than a force, then you're going to usually, most likely, you're going to lose focus, lose interest, and end up going back and working for the man again. And then that failure or belief in that adds on, just like a success does. Like now, next time you take a risk, you may be a little less more risk averse, and not want to take the risk because you already failed, and you're using that as your guiding stone. So you can't. When you fail, most entrepreneurs fail not once, twice, 3, 4, 5, many times, but they keep going forward.
Yeah.
And if it was money was the driving force, they would have stopped a long time ago. Went back and got a stable job somewhere, doing something else.
Yeah. My belief is, I've tried so many things, and some of them stick, but my belief is, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail forward. So I'm always going to bet on myself, and I'm always going to put my best foot forward. And so, like, even with the magazine and everything, we've never done magazines before. So especially that very first magazine, when I say it took us almost 2 months just to understand how to do the designs. I know how to do a little graphics, but I've never designed a magazine before. It was crazy.
It's exciting. Isn't it exciting though, Butta?
It is.
It's exciting because you're in uncharted territory. You've never done this before. It's all new. So many different variables. And yes, you're going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to spend more money than you want. You're going to spend money in a different area that you didn't to. But even with all that said, it's exciting and new. Like when I started doing the UI Media Network, and hosting shows and being on live radio, I never done that before. I never had any formal training how to interview somebody. I never sat down like a newscaster and learned, not to say or duh or whatever. I never had anything. I just went into it, threw myself into it, and and of course, the final product is I'm okay, but I'm definitely no professional at it, right? So it's just it's something that to me the journey is the fun part. That's the exciting part, not just the end of the process there.
Yeah, for me, I actually find myself liking the process, and I don't know what it is about me, but when I feel like I'm like in a crunch and everything, that's my time to go. That's when I'm more creative. When I feel like my back is against the wall.
The pressure's on.
It's crazy good. But I'm most creative when it's a lot of stuff going on, and it's. I don't even know how to do half the stuff that I'm doing, but I focus in, I know what I want to do, and I just, and what I do is I plan, I do it, and I review it. If it don't work, I just do something else.
But that is a true entrepreneur. Yeah. That's not an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, ones who are really good at managing businesses. Entrepreneurs are the risk takers, the visionaries, the ones who may not be the best at managing, but they are the best for moving things forward. And make it and bringing in opportunity and making things happen. Yeah. So it's amazing. Good to see my fellow entrepreneur.
I got a question for you. So how important is it to have multiple streams of income?
Critical. I like, for example, when I started my home healthcare company, I would have never succeeded if I wasn't working 2 jobs.
Right.
That's just a reality. I had to, and had a certain amount of income. Now, I could have just kept doing that and saving money and then started a business later on, right? Once I saved enough money up. But my risk was that I was hiring people to help run what I couldn't run, but I was bringing money in to pay their salaries while I was still working and hustling another job. But yet they were building the business as I was doing this, Then they would get another client, then I'd bring another person in, And I happened to have the opportunity to work a deal out with the person I was working with, David, um, uh, for Principal Living Senior Group. David was great man, because I was running his properties for him when he was just starting out.
Right.
And then he let me start my business within one of the rooms in his. And the full circle here is that he ended up moving out. His business ended up moving out of that place there, and I ended up taking my business, coming and taking over his place. That's how much we grew. Yeah. And so it's like a full circle there. And it was kind of neat how you see that process go, and it's exciting. Especially, I have a good management style, in the sense that I keep a lot of loyal people. Yeah. For whatever crazy reason, they like my crazy butt, right? And so they'll stick around, and they made a lot of opportunities as well. But a lot of folks don't leave. They stay. I've had, like, Greta's been with me for 15 something years.
Well, I already know why people stay.
Yeah, my parties, why?
Well, not just your parties, it's your heart. It's everything about you. I mean, you're very down and cool and down to earth and everything. So people are going to stay when you have somebody that's a genuine person that is not a butthole,
Yeah.
And that's really nice. You tend to stay, and you have an amazing heart. You love to party. You love to have a good time and everything. So I know why people stay. You're an awesome guy.
Well, thank you, Butta. And to me, what's important, like, the biggest thing I think with just looking back on the reality of it all is that, they trust when I say I'm going to do something, right. I do it. A handshake is enough for them now, because it wasn't just, maybe when we first met, it wasn't like that. But right. When you're with somebody over years and years and years, there's a certain level of integrity and expectation you develop. And to me, that's everything. When I can shake somebody's hand and I can go into business with them, and if they breach it, then it's it's a drop of their integrity, Right. But to me, I don't have to have a contract. Although people say you need to have a contract, which is great. But depending on who you're working with, right. if you create a certain frequency of people that you're tracked with, you'll attract people who are going to not try to screw you over. Yeah. Most people attract people who screw you over because you're willing to screw them over. And I think you're willing. If you're willing to look at, a long time ago heard the best definition of maturity is being classier than the situation calls for. If you could always be classier than the situation calls for, even when somebody's screwing you over, you still kind of handle it in that classier, above the situation way. Right. It pays back in tenfold in time, not only with that person or with yourself, but with other people who witness all this. Yeah. And so I think it's a very key way of running businesses. Handshakes matter, and your word and your integrity matters, because that's what's really the goodwill in your business, no matter what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you said something that I think is definitely key. You was talking about how when you started your healthcare business, you hired people that would handle the business. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to know everything to start your business. You got to know the right people to help you start your business. I've always felt that makes so much sense.
Well, I mean, but I have a general idea. I think you should have a general idea what's going on. Absolutely. But for me, in my home healthcare company alone, I mean, I never was a certified nurse assistant or a nurse. I don't know how to, change a catheter or do personal care. I mean, I don't know how to do that. And that's my primary business. That's right. Exactly what the home healthcare company does, is that. Right. So I didn't have to have that skill set, but I did have to have the skill set to know who did have that skill set.
Exactly.
And who would be good at that skill set. Exactly. And so you're hit it right in the nose. In fact, a lot of these entrepreneurs or more entrepreneurs, they feel like they have to manage everything. They got to control everything, and now as growing up in the business world in my career, I would, for my bosses, when I had bosses, I would always like, hey man, I'm going to make your life easy. You're going to have your feet sitting on that desk and I'm going to do everything. Because I wanted to learn everything. I want to know what it's like to hustle, make things happen. Right. So that was my training, and then my bosses were like, hey, and then all of a sudden I get a promotion to a regional director. Because I showed results, and all of a sudden I get a promotion to a vice president of operations. Right. So I didn't have this attitude like, I'm only going to do what is asked of me in my job description, or you got to pay me more money to do it. I didn't see that. I was getting information, knowledge, because in the back of my mind, I always want to do my own thing, but I want to know what it's like to have full responsibility. So any job I had in the career when I was growing up working for the man, I always, and this is probably the best advice I could give somebody, especially now for a lot of the younger generations who feel like they're entitled to a lot, I always made it, owned whatever I was doing as if I was the owner of that business.
Yeah.
Even though I got no money and no appreciation or no anything on that, but more importantly, I got the understanding that I could run everything.
Right.
And then with that, I built my confidence and empowerment, so then I could take that to the next level. And so everyone was like, man, Tim's great. Look at that. He's hitting his numbers and all this, and let's give him a promotion. So I got opportunity, but more so I got was the confidence that I could go do this on my own eventually, because, even though I wasn't doing that completely the same thing I was doing before, but it was associated and similar.
Right. I definitely think it's important to master, or not necessarily that you got to master, but you definitely need to know all aspects of your own business. You can, of course, give it to somebody else to manage and everything, but it's crucial that you understand what's going on in your business when you're starting a business, and on every levels.
Yeah. And trust. I mean, you got to find people you have to be able to trust.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that level, then you're not probably going to make it in the long run.
Yeah.
And trust me, I had people who, I thought I trusted and couldn't trust, and people who, when there's a void rose the occasion I didn't think we would, so you're surprised every way around. But when you develop that trust, you got to not just expect it, you got to be able to nourish it. You got to be able to feed it. You got to be able to perpetuate the level of trust and experiences you have with each other, because a lot of the folks who work for me, they're my best friends. They're not, I take business personal, I really do. And they work with me, sometimes they even live with me. I mean, it just depends on the circumstances, but it's just that I'm very this is a personal time. I'm going to spend all this time with you at work. Why wouldn't I want to be around people who I really like, who I respect, who I would go to the drop, pull the sword out for, right? So I think that's important too when you're running a business, is to make it personal. Don't look at this like this, oh, this business is business, that doesn't fly with me. Everything's personal to me. And I'd rather go out helping someone that I trust and who trusts me and believes in me, and support them against the guidelines, against all the birds flying in that one direction, because it's not, business etiquette or whatever it may be. To me, that's my etiquette, and with that, trust is being built even more. And I think that's what's probably sets me apart from some other birds in the flock there.
Right. So with the coronavirus going on right now, how has this affected your company? And what are you doing to take care of yourself and also your employees?
Oh, sure. Well, honestly, it's I'm in basically a recession-proof industry, senior care business, because even when the economy goes bad, people need to have care. People have to go in and care for them. It's not like you could AI this problem or carrying this service. It has to be a human being taking care of another human being.
Right.
And they have to be there in person. They can't do it by Zoom. They can't do it by anything else. So when these type of crises occur, this is unprecedented, when this occurs, our staffing increases, because now, like, we've had people from nursing homes calling us up just to send nurses out there to take people's temperatures coming into the properties. So it's just but with that being said, we are very conscious about our staff, where they're going. We have our protocols in place in reference to masks and sanitation, and also in case people get stuck at some of these homes. I mean, some of these deals we do with private pay clients. Some of them may end up staying at home for a week if there's a lockdown, right? So we want to make sure there's food there, there's preparation. So I have to say, our executive team there, Greta and Dreama and the gang, they really pulled. I mean, you got to pull it very fast together, otherwise things fall apart. Right. And we had very little preparation for this crisis, right? That was created. And so they've done a remarkable job, haven't missed a beat, and have been growing, since all this occurred. So that I'm very blessed and grateful for, and extremely concerned about the rest of the other industries that don't have this opportunity, that are being forced out of business, that are called non-essential. And see, I don't get that, Butta, because to me, putting food on your table, being able to put food on your table is very essential. So whatever your business is, if you can't put food on your table, to me, how can you say that's not essential? Because everything's essential, and you can't rely on a government to do this. I mean, they're the most inefficient aspect out there, right? So you're forcing people's hands not to take care of the essentials in their life. To me, it doesn't make sense, you know.
Right.
And I don't go along. I think this whole crisis, half of it's created. I think it could have been handled much better and easier. I think there will be more people dying from the reaction to this shutdown around the world than there will be actual people from the coronavirus. And I think that if they could handle by isolating seniors or high risk people with immunity issues, and push on that level rather than shutting down freaking commerce in the world, which is insanity to me. And then laying out $6 trillion in debt now. I mean, you know, when people are getting like $1,200, but now we're in debt $60,000 per each pure person in America now, because we just rolled this out. To me, it doesn't add up. So we're doing the best we can to make under these circumstances, which are really working against people. But my heart goes out to every entrepreneur, every business owner who had to shut down their businesses, had to lay off employees in the large amounts, and who now are just trying to figure out how they're going to bring bread and food on the plate for their children and their family.
Yeah, definitely people are being hit. I mean, as you know, I'm in the entertainment business, so every show is completely canceled.
Sports,
yeah, every sport is canceled. Thankfully, like I said, because I had pre-injured myself, I wasn't fully touring a whole lot anyway, but that still was the bulk of my money, was still performing. Although I couldn't tour overseas, I was still doing local shows and stuff like that. So I'm definitely feeling the pinch as well. But
What are you doing to survive? I mean, is that a concern?
I'm about to move in with you. Your house is big enough
But it's seriously, people have to think of these decisions that they never thought about before.
Yeah.
And every day goes by, another business is closing down, more employees are being laid off. And it's the point where we're not just going to go through a recession, Butta, because of this diffusion of the $6 trillion, I believe it's a rating of our treasury. And because of the everyday layoff and forced shutting down, we're going to be going through a depression, not just a depression in the United States, but I believe a depression around the world. And so, and I think this is something that we got to take much more serious than we have, because people we're moving so fast, decisions made so quickly. No one's looking at the repercussions down the line. You know, when you have this rush of fiat money coming into, I mean, this is $6 trillion. You have to understand about it. $6 trillion is more than our gross national product. What we bring in, $4 trillion a year. And so this is going to create inflation beyond what you've ever seen before, because it's too much money circulating, right? So people don't look at that, and economists do, but no one's talking about it, which I think is weird. And so something doesn't smell right. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that you can't work and everybody else can't work for a severe flu right now. So something else is going on, and I don't know what it is, but I'll get to the bottom of it. You watch.
I definitely know that if anybody's going to get to the bottom of it, it's going to be you. So, I want to thank you so much for being a part of my show.
Absolutely.
Transparency podcast. It was always something that I wanted to create. You know, I am this risk taker, and my belief is I'm going after every single thing that I've ever wanted to do in life. So everything, I mean, from the book to the play to anything I can think of in my mind, I am going to at least try it and do it. So transparent.
But success is in your DNA. Some people haven't, some people don't. You got it. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But transparency is real near and dear to me, because I do want to give our listeners the truth about a lot of things. I mean, people so often see you as a millionaire, see me on these stages and working with all these different people and everything, and they think that it just happened overnight, but that's just not the reality of life. for both people. And so, with the show, I'm hoping that, again, we can be transparent, peel back some layers, tell people, how it really is, and hopefully help some people along the way. So with that being said, do you have any advice you want to leave with the listeners that you wish someone would have told you?
Great question. I would say that you don't need to jump on the first opportunity you see just to test something out. You could experiment, but you could experiment a little bit more calculated. And I think so. Slow down and put a little more thought into decisions you move into, because I think I made a lot of mistakes in the past, and even to this day, still some, where I could have put a little more thought into it and not feel the fear of losing out on an opportunity, but more so looking at the bigger picture if it's the right opportunity for me. So that's probably the best advice I give people who are either involved in running businesses presently or about to start a business.
Okay, that's some amazing advice.
All
So
right.
with that being said, guys, I'm going to sign off. You are tuned in to Transparency Podcast. We air every Tuesday and every Thursday at 2:00 on YouTube and on Facebook Live. You can also listen to the actual podcast on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and eventually it will be on Pandora and iHeartRadio.
And Butta, make sure people know if they want to watch our shows on the UI Media Network, go to uimedianetwork.org and check out our shows. And who knows, maybe Butta will be on there one day too.
I'm definitely good. You about to be on is it Roku?
Roku.
Oh, I'm coming back for sure. Right. Do some doodle-ups and everything. I'm gonna be back on your show. So thank you so much, Tim. And I'm going to sign off. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.